RoboFun audience. My name is Laura Hart, and I'm the CEO and founder of RoboFun, and I am absolutely thrilled to have Li Shen and Cindy Zhang with me from MIT. They are rising sophomores, and they are co-directors of something called Splash, as well as Spark. Are you co-directors of Spark?
No.
That's another team. Okay. Well, how are you today, Li Shen?
Good. Thanks for having us, Laura.
Sure. It really is my pleasure. And how are you, Cindy?
I'm doing good as well. And
Good.
yeah, we really appreciate you inviting us to do this interview.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm going to say a few things about RoboFun, and then we're going to get right into what Splash and what Spark are, because in my own personal life, they've played a huge role, and I'm thrilled to be able to share this with more people. For those of you who may not know, RoboFun is a company. We're located at 102nd and Broadway in Manhattan, in New York City. And we run creative classes for children using leading edge technologies. So we run robotics classes, coding classes, classes in Minecraft and circuitry, as well as in animation. And we are in the middle of summer camp right now. And I travel between my house and the office. And I was just at the office this morning. And I have to say, I was blown away by how well I shouldn't have been blown away because I've trained these people, but my staff are running an amazing summer camp. So if you're watching this and in the New York area and you have a child between 3 and 13, we have week-long programs mornings, week-long programs afternoon, or week-long programs for the whole day. So consider our programs and go to robofun.org to learn more. As well as my social media team always says, tell people to like us. So like us on social media, but also like Splash. So I'm wondering, Li Shen, can you tell everyone what Splash is?
So, Splash is, we like to call it a learning extravaganza. It's a weekend, usually in late November, where high school students take classes hosted by MIT students and other community members. So this used to be on MIT's campus, so students would come onto MIT's campus, but last couple of years, because of COVID, we've had to do it virtually. But it is basically a weekend full of classes on almost anything you can think of. We've
And
had classes ranging from Genshin Impact, the popular game, to things like cryptography, philosophy, spans everything.
I think that the years I attended with my son, who's way too old for this, I think there was like foam sword making to improv. So even if your child, if you don't think them as a math science child, they will have this is an amazing opportunity. Basically, as a family, you travel up to Cambridge, find a place to stay for the weekend. You drop your child off at the Infinite Corridor, a famous part of MIT, and they take classes all day long. And they come back so jazzed about learning about their new friends. And what is so exciting to me is that Li Shen and Cindy are the co-directors of Splash, and have taken their time to share with our community about it. So Cindy, tell us how did you get involved in Splash?
Yeah, Splash is run by the Educational Studies program. We're a student-run organization, and after getting involved with ESP and joining in my freshman year, I found that this is a really great organization. Everyone is really nice. Everyone really cares about spreading the joy of learning to these students, and they're also really welcoming and great at getting new members to join. So after I became more involved, I started being interested in running Splash, which is one of our biggest programs, and here we are.
So is it still traditionally the weekend before Thanksgiving?
Generally, yes.
Okay. And I'm sorry, Cindy, were you going to say something else?
That was it.
Okay. What I have learned when I used to go with my son, it was for middle and high school students, but it got so big that that your organization split it into two different conferences. So those of you who are listening going, oh, my 6-year-old, well, there's nothing yet for your 6-year-old. But when you get into middle school, there's something called Spark. And Xuan, do you want to tell us a little bit about how Spark works?
Yeah, so Spark is basically just like Splash, except it's for middle schoolers, 7th and 8th graders. And we run this in March. So sometime after the spring break. So other than that, it's basically the same as Splash. What you expect from Splash, you kind of expect from Spark.
Okay. So you can basically, those of you not in the Cambridge area can travel to Cambridge, and your child will have classes. Usually they're an hour or 2 hours long. Is that right?
Most classes are between 1 and 2 hours. We've had some that take 3, but those are kind of rare because 3 hours is a long time to be in a single class.
Sure, sure. Now, what my son and I discovered is that actually registering for these is a tricky thing because you've created something so popular. And it's important for those of you who are interested to kind of get on your mailing list so you know when registration is going to open. Is that still the case?
Yeah, we still do have a mailing list, and for any interested student, if they create an account on our website at esp.mit.edu, they'll automatically be added to the mailing list. So whenever any of our programs has registration opening, they'll get an email. And we run programs.
I'm just putting it in the chat. I'm not sure if the two of you can, I think you don't have that access. It's esp@mit.edu.
esp.mit.edu.
ESP, say that one more time slowly.
esp.mit.edu.
Okay. All right. So that is how to register for Splash or Scratch mailing lists. Okay. Great. Great. So how much of your time do you have to devote in the fall to the organization of this? And how many kids come to each event?
Cindy, do you want to take this question?
Sure. Yeah, when preparing to direct Splash, like we learned that it is a very big time commitment, like enough that you definitely need to consider like taking one less class so that you can meet all the responsibilities of like running a great program for the teachers and the students and for preparing everything. I believe we usually get like thousands, at least the very least hundreds, and sometimes thousands of students coming to our programs because we do have a lot of interesting classes to offer, and I think people see the value in that.
Yeah. Yeah. And is Spark, well, you are directors of Splash, not of Spark, so you probably don't know as many facts about Spark, but my guess is it's probably hundreds and possibly thousands of kids come to that as well.
Yeah.
So you're rising sophomores. So when you arrived at MIT last fall and you got involved in ESP is the name of your student-run organization, did you teach classes for Splash this a year ago?
Yeah, I think we both taught some classes, not together, but we both had some classes.
Cool. So Cindy, what did you teach?
I taught a class on propositional logic with my co-teacher, Ian, and we basically talked about like some basic ideas in logic, and we did some fun riddles, and it was a pretty interesting class.
Cool. That's fantastic. And Li Shen, what did you teach?
So I taught a class on proofwriting. Basically, it was on how to make proofs more clear and readable, which is a pretty useful thing to have in math.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yep.
So one of the amazing things to me about ESP is it doesn't just happen at MIT. Can you tell me more about that, Li Shen?
Yeah, so there aren't many splashes all over the country, and there's also a kind of an umbrella organization called Learning Unlimited, which kind of support in some way, well, it's connected to the Splash network. So recently, I had the chance to visit the Stanford Splash on the other side of the country,
Uh-huh.
and it was pretty exciting. They were getting back into in-person programs, and having the students all there in person is just a different energy from everything being on Zoom.
Sure.
But Cindy can probably tell you more about that. She is our travel coordinator for
Oh,
ESP.
wow. So tell us more about that, Cindy.
Yeah, since COVID restrictions are starting to ease up, we've finally been able to like look into visiting other splashes and having people from other splashes visit us. So this semester, in addition to Stanford, we actually also were able to visit Northeastern Splash and Cornell Splash, which were both two great programs. We had a great time and learned a lot from them. So shout
Fantastic.
out to them. Yeah.
So Cornell and Northeastern. So I have to say, what about New York City or Chicago? Is there anything in either of those cities? Do you know?
Does NYU have a splash, Cindy?
I'm not aware of a splash at NYU, but I will definitely look into that because if there is one, we can also consider visiting it. And
I know a
for
few years ago there was
go
one
ahead.
in Columbia. I don't know if that has continued or not. So
Yeah, Columbia did have a splash this semester, but we unfortunately weren't able to visit it.
right.
But yeah, if you're in the New York area, you can definitely check out Columbia Splash.
That's great. Although I have a fondness for the mothership of having it it started at MIT. It started as a student-run organization. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So, not that the one in Columbia would be much more convenient, but I would also advocate that people try out the splash at MIT. So are there other learning activities that ESP does? And ESP, again, remind me what that stands for, Li Shen.
Educational Studies program.
Okay.
So yeah, we do kind of run programs all year long. There's Splash and Spark, which are the one weekend events in spring and fall.
Mm-hmm.
And in spring and summer, we also run programs called HSSPs, which are usually 5 or 6 weekends. They're only one afternoon on the weekend, but it's like instead of having a single class,
Right.
you have a sequence, a course of 6 classes, 6 weekend
Sure.
classes.
Sure.
And registration for summer HSSP is actually open right now.
For this summer.
Yep, this summer.
So if you are listening to this and live in an area near Cambridge, you could register for one of these programs.
Unfortunately, summer HSSP will still be online for students this year.
Oh, okay. Which is
It does
fortunate
mean-
and unfortunate.
Yeah, it does mean that people from anywhere can join us.
Right. So that's a fantastic opportunity. And teaching those classes again are students at MIT and community members. Is that correct?
Yep.
Wow. Wow. Um, have you experienced any, I don't know where we're getting the feedback, but any of your colleagues who attended Splash as a high school student and then came to MIT?
Yeah, my co-teacher for one of my HSSP classes actually told me she was interested in teaching for this because she attended Splash herself and she found it to be a
That's
really fun experience.
That's fantastic. Wow. And as a teacher, I now do some teaching, but I also run a company. Does this make either of you want to consider becoming a teacher? Cindy, how
Um,
about you start?
I definitely have thought about what life would be like if I wanted to become a teacher, and I think I'm definitely not going to rule out the option because it seems like a really great way to like help students.
Mhm.
I'm still not completely sure about like my future though.
Sure, sure. And what about you, Lishan?
I share many of the same sentiments as Cindy. I think teaching and learning are some really fun things to do. In fact, spreading the joy of teaching and learning is one of ESP's main values. And yeah, I do think I am once again not sure, but yeah, like Cindy, I'm not gonna rule it out.
You don't have to be sure yet, but I think you'd both be great teachers if that's what you choose. So, do you have any last things you want to tell our audience about Splash or Spark or ESP in general?
Yeah, I guess once again we really want to plug Summer HSSP, our upcoming program. I believe runs from July 9th to August 13th. This is a really great program. The directors and all of ESP have been working really hard to make this a great experience. We've also been learning from our previous few virtual programs, so we're still trying to make the virtual format for students as engaging and interactive as possible. We have opportunities like some classes will be sending class supplies to students in the mail, which is great if you want to work on something hands-on. We also have teachers who will be sending resources out to students, like outside of class for you to look at, and other ways for you to learn. So these programs are really exciting opportunity, and we hope you check them out.
So before I have you speak, Lishan, can you tell us what age and what the topics of some of the classes are? And I will actually add this to one of my blog posts. So,
Um, so for this upcoming summer HSSP, some of our classes include, well, there's one on geometry, axiomatic geometry, I believe,
okay,
which Cindy is a co-teacher of.
cool.
Uh, this, I believe, is for grades 9 through rising 12. Is that correct, Cindy? And we also, well, you can actually check out the catalog on our website. It is actually, the catalog is live. Uh,
Okay.
but off the top of my head, we also have a class on thermodynamics. We also have a class on writing, a writing
So you
workshop
do have
class.
things in the humanities as well as in
Yeah.
math and science. Okay. And HSSP is for middle and high school. Is that right?
Yep, that is correct.
Okay. Okay. And is there a cost for the classes?
So all of ESP's programs have a flat fee of $40, but we provide very generous financial aid. We waive this fee for students who apply for financial aid.
But the fee is $40 for the whole thing.
Yeah, regardless of which classes, how many classes,
Sure. Okay.
flat fee.
All right. And does it work that it's like one afternoon a week for 6 weeks? Something
Yeah,
like that?
that's the way for HSSP.
Uh-huh. Great. Great. And Lee Shen, I'm going to leave you with the last word. Anything you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, I'll second Cindy's thoughts. HSSP is a is a very different experience from Splash. So even if you've attended Splash or Spark before, we call them Splarks. You
Ah,
should try out HSSP. And it's the summertime, it's summer break, but ESP has still been working really hard to bring you this program. And we believe it will be a great time for students of any age in middle and high school. We think we really do have something for everyone.
thank you, Lishan, very much. So this is an amazing opportunity to dive into one of your passions for those middle and high school students at an extremely low cost. And I am so happy to have met you and to be able to help spread the joy of learning through my own classes, but also through this amazing opportunity. Thank you so much for being my guests.
Thanks for having us.
Sure,
Thank you so much.
sure. Another few words about RoboFun. We are at robofun.org, and we are right in the middle or right at the beginning of 12 weeks of summer camp in which your child can enroll for a week at a time, mornings or afternoons or the full day in robotics, coding, and Minecraft and circuitry. And we have coding in both Python and in Scratch. And we share with ESP that our goal is to spread the joy of learning. And on that note, thank you all and have a great day.